Steelers Nation, gather up, because what's happening right now in Pittsburgh could change everything. There's a storm brewing in the Steel City, and it's got every fan asking the same question. Could the front office be on the verge of a move that completely flips this offense before the trade deadline? Now, before we dive into the full story, you already know what to do. Hit that like button to help more members of the Black and Gold family find this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from every single one of you. Would you pull the trigger on this kind of deal? Or should the team stay the course and trust the rebuild? Because make no mistake, this isn't just about one player or one trade rumor. This is about the direction of the franchise, the identity of this offense, and the vision the Steelers are building for the years to come. So buckle up, grab your terrible towels, and let's break this down like only Steelers Nation can. Here we go, Steelers, here we go! Steelers Nation, what if I told you that the Pittsburgh Steelers could make one of the most surprising trade moves of the season? A deal that could change the entire dynamic of this offense before the trade deadline. That's the kind of buzz stirring among fans this week, as speculation grows around a potential trade for New Orleans Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. And while the idea sounds exciting, the real story behind it is far more complicated, and it might reveal exactly how the front office is thinking about the team's long-term future. Chris Olave's name has been floating around the trade rumor mill ever since the Saints' season began spiraling out of control. Sitting at 1-4, New Orleans doesn't exactly look like a team on the rise, and fans across the league are wondering if they might start making moves before the deadline. The call-in lines exploded this week when one fan from Virginia asked if the Steelers could, or even should, make a push for Olave, and you can understand why people are tempted by that idea. Pairing a polished route runner like Olave with a physical wideout such as DK Metcalf could create one of the most dangerous receiving duos in football. But here's the catch: money. Olave just signed his 5th-year extension, which means trading for him wouldn't just be about giving up draft capital. It would also mean committing to a massive new contract. Analysts estimate he could command between $28 to $30 million per year, putting him in the same salary tier as the league's elite receivers. Pittsburgh already has Metcalf under a major deal, and it's hard to see them tying up that much cap space in 2-star wideouts while still trying to keep their defense intact and their offensive line developing. Here's another wrinkle. The Steelers' projected cap space for 2026 sits around $43.5 million, and that's without a quarterback on the roster.
If they commit to Olave now, it would likely force them to sacrifice flexibility in other key areas, including re-signing young players who started to emerge as core pieces. The only realistic path where this kind of deal makes sense is if Pittsburgh lands its quarterback of the future in the upcoming draft, someone like Fernando Mendoza or Leonard Sears, and can ride that rookie contract for the next few years. That would allow them to spend big elsewhere. But until that's guaranteed, it's a tough sell. The discussion around Olave isn't just about one player. It's about how this organization values stability over splash moves. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin have built this roster carefully, balancing the books while developing talent. A blockbuster trade might thrill fans in the short term, but it could also derail the patient rebuild they've been crafting since Ben Roethlisberger retired. Another fan call brought up an interesting angle: Jackson Powers-Johnson, the young guard drafted by the Raiders, who's reportedly fallen out of favor after losing his starting job to Alex Kappa. Dr. Bob from Erie, Pennsylvania, asked if Pittsburgh could make a low-cost move for Powers-Johnson, maybe swapping late-round picks to grab him as insurance for the offensive line and possibly a future replacement for Isaac Sumolo if he departs in free agency. Now that's the kind of move that actually fits the Steelers' blueprint. Powers-Johnson was high on their radar back in the 2024 NFL Draft, right around the same time they selected Zach Frazier. He's young, tough, and already has experience inside. The main hurdle is that it's hard to imagine the Raiders parting with a second-round pick this early in his career unless Pittsburgh offered meaningful compensation, likely a third-rounder or multiple later picks. Still, there's logic to it. Imagine a young offensive line built around Broderick Jones, Frazier, McCormick, Falanu, and Powers-Johnson, all under 26, all growing together. That's a long-term foundation. But even if such a deal materialized, there's one big question: who gets paid? Having 4 linemen from the same draft cycle means 4 contracts coming due at nearly the same time. That could become a major cap headache down the line. Again, that's the delicate dance Omar Khan faces, building for today without sacrificing tomorrow. And all of this ties back to one central theme: the Steelers aren't likely to part with high draft picks this season. Every move they make right now feels like it's building toward the 2026 NFL Draft, a class loaded with intriguing quarterbacks. They want the flexibility to move up if they see their guy. Trading those assets for a receiver, even one as talented as Chris Olave, just doesn't align with that vision. It's a fascinating situation because it tells us what the front office truly prioritizes: sustainability over hype. That's the DNA of this franchise: never desperate, never reckless. And that's why, as tempting as the idea of an Olave trade might be, it's hard to see Pittsburgh biting unless the stars align perfectly. Now, when we look beyond trades, there's also the conversation about Jahlani Tavai, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, and the linebacker rotation, another hot topic among fans. The team's recent addition, Jawan Bentley from the Patriots, has barely cracked the rotation, and according to insiders, that's by design. Bentley was brought in as depth after Malik Harrison's injury, not as a long-term starter. The core remains Queen, Wilson, and Cole Holcomb, a trio that's showing strong chemistry. Queen continues to play at an elite level, Wilson is flashing Rookie of the Year potential, and Holcomb has embraced his role as the early down enforcer. That balance has given Pittsburgh's defense its trademark toughness again, even as the offense continues to evolve. What all of this shows is that the Steelers' identity isn't changing. They're still building methodically, strengthening the trenches, and letting their stars dictate the culture. Every decision, whether it's avoiding a flashy trade, grooming a young lineman, or trusting the linebacker core, points to a front office that's not chasing headlines. They're chasing rings. Now, Steelers fans, I've got to ask, what do you think? Would you want Pittsburgh to swing big for a player like Chris Olave, even if it means sacrificing cap space and draft flexibility? Or would you rather see this team stay the course, protect its picks, and build from within like they've always done? Drop your thoughts below, because one thing's for sure, this trade season could test exactly how patient Steelers Nation really is. And while the trade chatter has dominated the headlines, the deeper story inside the Steelers building is about control, not the kind that wins you a single game, but the kind that defines a franchise for years. Every move the Steelers have made over the past 2 seasons tells the same story. This team is learning from its past. The front office has no interest in chasing short-term glory at the expense of long-term stability. Let's be honest, this organization has seen what happens when a team tries to buy its way to contention. Around the league, franchises throw money at problems, stack superstars, and crumble the moment chemistry fails or the salary cap tightens. That's not the Steelers' way. Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin have been building a roster that's not just talented but synchronized, a unit that grows together, trusts each other, and plays complementary football. You can see it on tape, especially on defense. Patrick Queen has become the emotional centerpiece of that linebacker unit. Week after week, his range and leadership have stabilized the middle of the field in a way Pittsburgh hasn't seen in years. Peyton Wilson, the rookie, looks like the next great homegrown piece: sideline-to-sideline speed, raw instincts, and a motor that simply doesn't quit. And then there's Cole Holcomb, the glue guy who doesn't always make highlight plays but quietly handles the dirty work that makes everyone else better. That's classic Steelers football: no flash, just fundamentals and results. The addition of Jawan Bentley, pure depth, pure insurance. Tomlin doesn't panic when a player goes down. He prepares. Bentley's presence isn't about changing the rotation. It's about having another veteran voice ready when the physical game starts stacking up. With Malik Harrison still nursing injuries, Bentley fills the gap and keeps that linebacker room as tough as ever. And that's where the conversation circles back to the bigger picture: how every personnel decision Pittsburgh makes connects to its philosophy about winning. Look at the offense. The debates around wide receivers, offensive linemen, and even the quarterback situation all orbit the same principle: build smart, not loud. It's why a potential trade for Chris Olave sounds thrilling but feels unlikely. The Steelers aren't just looking for names. They're looking for fits, players who match the system, the locker room, and the budget. And with DK Metcalf already commanding big money, tying up another $30 million annually in one receiver could limit how they build the rest of the roster. Remember, this team still has extensions coming due for key young players, including several along the offensive line. Speaking of that line, imagine the future if the Steelers somehow added Jackson Powers-Johnson from the Raiders. It's the kind of under-the-radar move that fits this front office perfectly: a young, physical, coachable lineman who can slide inside and grow alongside Broderick Jones, Zach Frazier, and McCormick. The Steelers were high on Powers-Johnson during the 2024 draft before the Raiders scooped him up, and while his early career in Las Vegas has been turbulent, including a concussion and some internal questions about his fit, the talent is undeniable. But again, this team isn't throwing away premium draft capital to take a flyer. Omar Khan's strategy has been consistent: protect the future. That means keeping early picks safe for the 2026 draft, when the quarterback question must finally be answered. And yes, that question is coming faster than most fans think. With no long-term QB under contract beyond next season and the team's cap projection sitting at roughly $43 million in 2026, Pittsburgh is clearly setting the stage for a move at the most important position on the field. Whether that's through the draft, with names like Fernando Mendoza or Leonard Sears already drawing attention, or through a short-term veteran bridge like Aaron Rodgers, who's quietly found new life in Pittsburgh, the strategy is deliberate. That's what made Dwayne from Suffolk, Virginia's call so interesting. He asked whether the Steelers should run it back with Rodgers next year, and the truth is, it's on the table. Rodgers looks comfortable, healthy, and engaged. His connection with this young offense is growing each week, and the protection up front has improved enough to make him believe there's something real brewing in Pittsburgh. If the Steelers finish strong and make a deep playoff run, Rodgers might look around, feel that energy, and decide he's not done yet. But it's not just about him. Even if Rodgers stays, expect the front office to draft his eventual successor this spring. The blueprint would mirror what Kansas City did with Mahomes and Alex Smith. Let the rookie sit behind a veteran, learn, absorb, and take over when ready. Rodgers has openly said he's comfortable mentoring young quarterbacks, and that could become Pittsburgh's perfect transition plan. Experience today, future tomorrow. Then, there's the running game, one of the most encouraging storylines to come out of the bye week. When Jaylen Warren went down, Kenneth Gainwell stepped in and delivered one of the best performances of the year, nearly cracking 100 yards with 2 touchdowns against the Vikings. And what stood out wasn't just the stats, it was the physicality. Gainwell ran angry. He broke 7 tackles, punished defenders, and brought energy to an offense that desperately